My next speaker is Yves Bernard. Nice, easy name. I like that. I'm always looking for how to pronounce Yves Bernard. You're the CEO of Accenture Technology Europe, and in general, you run, you support, you grow the teams across Europe, and let's say that you're responsible for a very big part of what's happening in the tech business right now, definitely for Accenture. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
And you're going to talk about post-COVID. I don't know if you saw anything about the panel, but we talked about the future trends of what's happening right now, how technology can help. And you add up on that marvelously, because you're going to talk about post-COVID opportunities for CIOs in the new normal. What will change? What will be the challenge, the opportunities? What's the future vision? And to wrap it up, what's next? That's what Yves Bernard is going to talk about. I don't know if you saw, but people have digital emoji claps and they're already clapping. So I would say, Yves, if you're ready, give it up for Yves and take it away.
That's nice. We feel being almost together, right? So
yeah, it's exactly the same.
No, it's good. So thank you for that. I think we have like 20-25 minutes, right, with some questions coming in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll make it as live as you wish. Well, first, thanks a lot for organizing this, and I'm very pleased to be there. So I'm Yves Bernard, and indeed I'm part of the tech community in Europe. Very proud and pleased to lead the Accenture technology team in Europe, working with clients across the board. And I know OpenSlava is a great way for CIOs to connect together. So in fact, following the previous discussion, what has been asked to me, and through questions I can open to other topics, is to talk about cloud. You know, one of the trends that we saw during COVID and now post-COVID is an absolute acceleration. So that's the topic I want to raise today, because when I go across all the CIOs in Europe, this is very clearly a topic that they are willing to discuss, and they are willing to better understand. They are willing to better understand what's going on. So what we realized during COVID and why cloud is becoming more an imperative. First, as you see here, most companies have not completed their digital transformation agenda, and COVID has asked people to accelerate, whether it's e-commerce, on their supply chain, on their infrastructure to support the business. They had to make changes. Therefore, most of the companies look at cloud as a way to accelerate, because it's much easier to do your digital transformation if you are in cloud. And it's true that it's much more easier to do your rotation, because it's more resilient. You can develop new experiences, you can develop new product. It's quicker. The cost is way below, and the economics makes it very relevant, right? So the first point on the top right is that of course we discussed with CIO, and it became as well an overall C-suite agenda, because the people in the manufacturing are interested, the CEO are interested. When you talk to banks, for example, and they just look at the opportunity of cost, and they discuss about few $100 million saving for 1 year, it becomes a CEO agenda, because they are very interested to hear about it. The fourth trend is that we strongly believe, looking to the market, that today we are about 20% of the infrastructure who have shifted to the cloud. And we strongly believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to shift to about 80%, which is massive as a shift. And of course, the hyperscaler are in the back of it, mainly with Microsoft, with Google and Amazon, and they are positioning themselves to be the partner on the infrastructure side, as well as some native infrastructure development to provide those services. And company like us, we are called every day to advise clients on the best way to do it and see how we can execute it end to end. And the last thing is that transition to cloud requires clients and all companies to transform themselves. It's not an infrastructure play. There's a lot of talent related, where you need to completely change your processes, but as well the talent that you have in the company to rotate. So they all need to do strategy, and so they cover. First the first topic obviously they cover is what is the strategy, what it needs to be, what is the new operating model, what is the talent, are people ready, not ready, etc. Second is about executing the migration itself, but not only the technical migration, but it's all about modernizing the application. You know, when you migrate a mainframe, for example, you modernize it, you put APIs on top, but in a secure and cost-effective. Then it's looking at, obviously, about getting the right expertise and the services to do it. And then it's to look at the opportunity. You know, it's to look at, it's not a pure take play. It's about being able to develop new applications, you know, having your data in the cloud, but as well reimagining your business. For example, if you are in the health industry, you know, you can start thinking about the new services. How can I connect in the health industry, pharmaceutical company, doctor, patient, and getting all the data leveraged to provide new services and create a new top line revenue for your company. So this is an opportunity that usually companies had less chance to be able to invent those businesses because their capability, whether it's software, whether it's infrastructure, was not supporting that, and they could not connect with their ecosystem. So when they shift to cloud, it just becomes possible. So usually we try to simplify things. So depending on the audience here connected, whether you are very deep in technology or more a CEO level, depending on your level of technology, we try to summarize it simply for everyone. First, it's all about the migration. And usually when we hear about cases in the world, we hear about 10 to 30% cost saving. This is all about saving cost. Then we start discussing about accelerate, which is doing new developments, putting your data in cloud, start to develop new products. And when we say here, agility is about 10 to 20%. At the end, when we look at new development, the average benefit is around 30% less costly in developing new solutions at about 50% quicker, which comes to the agility point. So 30% more cost effective, not only in the infrastructure, but in the development itself. And then 50% in the speed to deliver your solution. And then we go to the grow and innovate. And this is where we start to develop really the new application. When I say rethinking the business model, thinking about the new services you can develop, that's it. And this is where companies get the biggest benefit out of it. And whether companies do it all in one or they do it step by step, a lot of companies go step by step because they need the cash in. So they do the migration, they take the cash back, and then they invest in acceleration and grow and innovate. So that's the model that we see happening. So what are the client expectations? So we put on the right all the different steps. Some of them are a bit repeated, but if I go to the key message for all of us here. First is what we see when we are shifting infrastructure to the cloud is, and when we think about the new development possible, when we mention here industry cloud journey, is that the market, when you shift to cloud, will be more and more industry focused, meaning either the hyperscaler or company like us and both are developing solutions that are vertical assets that are reusable. That means that when you shift to cloud, you can start accessing to library that were not available before, of code that you can, the piece of code that you can reuse that are either technology solution or they are vertical solutions that are dedicated to your industry. Could be, for example, in health, you know, scanning data, leveraging a scanner and looking at it to make some advice for doctors. You know, those assets exist already and can be reused. So there's going to be multiples. It's going to be for banking. It's going to be around KYC, for example, to automate all the data to be at one place. And all those new applications can leverage those data and generate more insight, more input for decision making, helping the process, you know, to be better, rethinking product, etc. So the second one, secure and seamless transition to cloud. That's obviously their expectation. Lower TCO, I mentioned it, around usually about 30%. More experience in the edge. You heard a bit of it before, where when you start hearing about edge computing, there will be more compute within the product. And this is where with cloud, it is much easier to be developed and deployed. I mentioned be able to create new business model, and then understanding that it's not the current team that can do all this, but you're going to have to transform your team. So client expectation is always, can you help me to rotate my people to be able to work in this new cloud environment? The way when we saw that, and when you think about, like in the next 3 to 5 years, shifting 20% of all software and infrastructure to be shifted to the cloud, that requires an intervention. Even for a company like us, we need to rotate ourselves to be much more able to serve clients who are going to shift to that. This is a moment in a career, I think, for all of us that is not happening so many times. And this is why we launched this cloud first, and we decided as a company to invest quite a significant amount of money. We are talking about like $3 billion in the next 3 years, because we believe we have to accelerate this rotation. So we're looking at it to have, mobilizing strategy people, technology people, working together to provide services to clients, which are strategy, which are industry cloud, as well to do the enterprise transformation and do the change management to help employee at clients, helping to learn our people, but as well to do the same to teach our people, but do the same for our clients, develop new capabilities, more partners to work with. There is the MAG, of course, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, but there is as well many other partners in the cloud industry that we need to connect, et cetera, et cetera. And I will come to the last point, but on the right, for us, the way we look at it to accelerate, we do some acquisition, we do training. As I say, we develop assets because we believe again and again, this is a place where you're going to need to develop assets to be reusable, whether they are technical, horizontal, or whether they are vertical. And then helping client to invest, because we do recognize at the time of COVID and post-COVID now, that sometimes financial is a challenge. So we need to find ways to optimize the cost structure and find ways to limit the impact of the migration. So when you think about it, usually the benefit is to get a cost reduction immediately. So we are looking at, even in a year one, for the migration to cloud for the infrastructure, is to make it at a lower cost to absorb the investment, in order to immediately invest in the new application to be developed. So it usually the business model avoid clients to make any initial investment, so the migration can happen without it. And one key point which is related to cloud is usually one of the objectives that CIO or CEO have set is to be more sustainable, and this is where green IT and green cloud is coming into play. And I mentioned before, this is a world of assets. So what we did is we developed a solution, not just talking about our solution, but we developed a solution that we call MyNav, which is extremely useful to do two things, because it requires, when you want to migrate your IT landscape to cloud, you have in front of you sometimes thousands of applications. Of course, multiple servers, thousands of servers, but thousands of applications. And some of them are used, some of them are less used. They have some dependency between themselves. So you have to make a decision about what should you migrate, or what you should, retire as an application. Or if you migrate, do you need to modernize the application? Do you need to re-platform the application? So the MyNav solution that we have put in place is here to help company to automate. And I think it's very important at the time we speak is to be very quick in deploying, in making your migration happening. So we are leveraging this tool to make the assessment, look at all applications, and then make a recommendation, looking to which MAG makes sense for your specific situation, and then create a roadmap and a business case to see how quickly, for which application should you do the migration. And within it, as I mentioned, green IT and green cloud, there is as well all the tooling included to make the simulation about the benefit on your carbon footprint and energy consumption. And usually on the scope you migrate, we see when it comes to reduce carbon emission, that you can do it up to around 84% on your conventional infrastructure. And the beauty of doing it through tooling is that you can automate the calculation. So when you are presenting to an executive committee your strategy, you do it through a tool, and you can show not only the migration story, the re-platform story, or the grow and innovate, creating new solution. You can also show the benefit on energy consumption. If I move today, what I said is that we are at about 20% of migration to cloud that happen, and it's happening a bit everywhere. So there are many examples that we can rely on, because we are at the beginning, but there is still good examples that are there. And I can just, maybe if that makes sense for all of you, illustrate with two. And I'm cautious of time, so I will be quick. With one major utility company in Europe. Here, in that case, they talked about close to 20,000 servers, 1,500 applications, and spread across 1,000 sites, 3 continents, so all across the globe. And for them, the program happened in about 18 months, and the cost reduction that they've been able to gain was factually 30%, which is on a scale like that, absolutely fantastic, because they could then reinvest, and they started to do new developments. It's the world's largest, and that one happened quite a few years ago, more than 3 years ago. So it demonstrated after 3 years of migration that the ability to develop new solution has been demonstrated. It works. There is a real return on experience on this one. A more recent one in the jewelry for a jewelry company, where they looked at migrating, in their case, 70% of their application. This has happened at a time where, and this has happened in a bit more than a year. And for them, at the same time, they rationalized the partner they were working with. They have like 60 partners now. They are working with 3 of them, and it was less than the previous case, but they had like more than 300 applications, more than 2,000 servers. So, but it happened much quicker, and now they start to see the benefit. In their case, not 30%, but 40% cost saving. They've been able to decommission 30% of their application, and now they are starting to develop the new application, leveraging cloud native development. So those are examples, but there are many examples across the board. Of course, there is a success factor. This can be a big failure as well. So it needs to be well planned and well executed. So having the business buy-in. It needs to be extremely people-centric, because you're going to change a lot of the skills you need in your teams. So with a detailed preparation, execution against solid, leveraging asset, because there is a lot that you can automate. If it's not well planned, not only you will miss the cost benefit, but there will be a consumption peak. So it needs to be well planned when you start shifting to cloud, that you are not overspent at start. So we make it a linear growth in terms of shifting, so you don't increase the cost. Obviously, evaluate the risk, specifically on data. Leverage all the automation that is available, and of course do this migration, but immediately start thinking about what's next. What do you need to re-platform? What are the new development opportunities? Talking to the business, what are the new solutions that were not possible before, but do become possible? So that's the exec summary. It's just one topic among many topics that post-COVID is pushing for an acceleration. So over to you for any questions, but I will strongly advise, whether you are a CEO of a company, a CIO, or part of a team, to look at what cloud can bring to you as a benefit, not only in cost, but as well as optimizing your IT, but as well creating new services that were not possible before. So over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Yves. Like I said to all the other speakers, normally now you have like standing ovations, people clapping, going crazy. But seeing we're online, it's nothing's happening, but people have the clap hands in the chat.
Okay, that's
so
nice.
That's great. Thank you very much. Like I said, the people are watching, ask questions if you have anything about the cloud, the transformation. If you're a CAO, definitely jump in and I'll check it with the thing. I, of course, am not going to claim that I know that much about cloud and data, so I'm also not going to pretend. But I asked in the meantime some people that are also watching that are in this industry. And I'm in the meantime, as other people are maybe jumping in, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. The first one is, do you see the same trends towards cloud transformation across all industries? How do you see that from your perspective?
A year ago, no.
Okay.
A year ago, we do see, some industry like banking, who were looking at it, but not really executing it. The health industry as well, because there was all the data topics. What we see today is that it's accelerating for every industry. And even the one who were maybe a bit reluctant some time ago are not reluctant anymore, and they are massively moving to it. Of course, there is some, things to look at in terms of securing your data and securing your processes, but it's covering everywhere. And the one who are accelerating, of course, now are even the one who have more cost pressure. Mm-hmm. In summary to your question, now it's really across the board, which is very different from some months ago before COVID. So interesting change in the market.
Definitely. And is it? Yeah, you can also say if it's not relevant. Like I said, I'm not the expert, but if you then say you have certain triggers in all industries. Before it was. Is it only the money pressure point, like I have to move because of certain times, or do you also see other triggers? You also addressed it a bit in your presentation. Other triggers in these industries that you not expected before are now moving to cloud. What are those?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, the cost is one, but now it's about the new development. I mean, if we saw today in the health industry, which has been highly used during this period. And I think there is high expectation and investment coming in. We need to completely rethink the way those industries are operating. So if in the health industry, if you want to structurally have a patient file that you can share across doctor, across clinic, having the pharma company connected, having the patient being able to access to his file, having the doctor as well having access, to solutions that can automate part of his work, and getting all that ecosystem connected together. If you don't do that in cloud, I don't know how you can do that today. So it's pushing industry like health to look at cloud as a way to be more efficient and create services that couldn't be developed before. And this is across all industry, but that industry in particular is one that really needs that shift to happen, And Europe is pretty well known as being a good actor in the health industry, but creating this platform change. And if we are in Europe, so let's be a bit selfish for a moment, we strongly believe, and a lot of presidents, including the one in France, say it, that we lost the B2C battle. Okay. I mean, if you think about cloud and all those US companies or Chinese companies, they have been in the B2C and they are dominating the world. Where we are extremely good at in Europe, is in the business side. And if we create platform around, of course, maybe tomorrow we'll re-enhance the travel industry, but the health industry or the industrial industry, we can invent the B2B business on cloud, which is to be invented and created, and nobody really took that market as we speak. So it's a fantastic opportunity, but it's not just one company that needs to decide to do it, but they need to do it with their ecosystem. So it's a different way of operating your own business, much harder, but this is the new growth opportunity. So far away from just a cost opportunity, very far away from that.
That's true. Good answer. I think that's also for the people watching out there, really the opportunity. And also we heard a similar thing like, with the panel, like look at your own business. How are you gonna pivot and see the opportunity? And like you were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, like the B2B, that is where we can make a difference in Europe versus all the American or the Chinese companies. So
yeah,
very nice one. And then a second one, we got another one. I have two more questions if that's okay. If I'm looking that way, I'll also say with the panel, it's not that I'm not interested in you, it's because my questions are over there. It's going really fast. Which cloud is from Thomas? Which cloud provider do you see winning the game?
Initially, the market has been dominated with, if we look in Europe, that's a question for Europe, with Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. And in this order, this is the way they went to the market, with Amazon first, Microsoft second, and Google. But that's more in terms of market share. And that was for the last 5 years. If I look at today, they are all taking, it's spreading a bit more. Google, with Google and Azure, they are significantly accelerating to catch up on the fact that they were later in the game in terms of market size. So the three of them are in. And we see on the three of them, they are specializing a bit by industry. So they are as well, splitting the market to have some focus to some industry and less to some others. So with that said, now where 3 years ago there was maybe one winner in front of the others, now the three are really facing in the same ability the market, because before not every clients were moving. We just moved 20% in the last 3 to 5 years. And now that everyone's going to move, all the players will take their market share because it's happening in parallel. It's not happening in the long run. So that's what I see. Then they all have their plus and minus, of course. But this is very minimal versus their overall ability of the three.
All right. Let me check real quick. I always ask if it's the answer that they wanted. So
I don't know.
The answer, let me know in the chat.
Please.
Some people are saying that it's AWS. I presume that's Amazon by far. And they're also
they are dominating the market as they were like first entering in it. But as I say, if you look to the growth of every partner, the others are catching up. So that's the fact.
Okay. Cool.
But I think the comment on the chat is right. Yes.
All right. And then the last one that apparently we talk a lot about sovereign cloud today. Do you see an increasing interest from your clients?
Well, so for specific ones, we saw recently in France, the change on health, where they're gonna maybe redo a request for proposal and bringing some sovereign cloud company who are more national or European based. So I think massively it's going to be with the hyperscaler, but for some dedicated services that are ultra sensitive, those sovereign cloud partners will take portion of the job, whether it's government, whether it's for citizen, whether it's for health. But I don't think it's going to be a total shift back to the sovereign cloud to say, hey, if you are in Europe, you go with sovereign partners. I think Gaia X is there to bring some advice, about what needs to be fulfilled, like with GDPR, what needs to be applied by the provider. And I think the three hyperscalers that I mentioned, with Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, are embracing those. So it's really for, I believe, sovereign, yes, will grow, but for very pure, dedicated, high sensitive services. Because today, let's be honest, the ability to invest in those companies is far away from the hyperscaler. So the functionality, the technical capability is not really comparable. So you're going to need to have really a security constraint on your data and the sensitivity of the data to be much stronger than the technical capability that is bring. So in order to make your decision to go for a sovereign cloud, whether the market will evolve, more money will go to sovereign cloud company as an investor to catch up on the technical capability, we'll see. that I don't know, but we see some trends of those discussions happening. So we'll monitor that, but that's what I see on sovereign cloud.
All right. Nobody has a glass ball to see exactly what the future will bring, of course.
No, but I mean, even some presidents say that we have missed that boat. So that's why myself I believe it's going to be just a real portion. And when I see some banks and I see some governments in Europe moving to the 3 hyperscaler at speed, I think it's on.
Yeah.
It's on. It's happening. It's now.
Sure. Okay, I'm looking at the time. I think the next speaker, Bettina, I'm checking the chat real quick if everything's okay. Everybody got their answer? Yes. All right, Yves, then I thank you very much for your presentation, for the answer to the questions. And I would say, wherever you are in the world, if you're starting your day, ending your day, have a great evening or a great rest of the day. Thank you very much. And I would say claps in the chat, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks to all of you. Thank you for animating. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers.